All right. Welcome back, everyone.
Yeah.
We're going to be diving into some pretty choppy waters today.
Okay.
The U.S. financial system.
All right.
We're going to be looking at some concerns about the national debt,
Mm-hmm.
the Federal Reserve,
Okay.
even the role of gold and Bitcoin.
Sounds intriguing.
Yeah.
What are the sources we'll be using for this deep dive?
Well, our main source is an interview with former congressman
Okay.
and three-time presidential candidate, Dr. Ron Paul.
Dr. Ron Paul.
You might know him as an advocate for limited government
Mm-hmm.
and a critic of mainstream economic thinking.
He's a controversial figure for sure.
Yeah, and he doesn't hold back
Okay.
in this interview.
All right.
He argues that government waste and fraud are so deeply ingrained
Wow.
that they're practically features, not bugs.
Okay.
And he compares the current economic situation to a bigger bubble
Oh.
ready to burst.
So he's saying that our current trajectory is unsustainable
Yeah,
and heading for a major correction.
exactly. He believes this could lead to a loss of confidence in the U.S. dollar.
Loss of confidence in the dollar.
Imagine a world
Yeah.
where the dollar is no longer the dominant force
Right.
in global trade.
Yeah, that would be.
That's the kind of scenario he's warning about.
That would shake things up quite a bit.
It
What
would.
does he propose as an alternative?
Well, he's a big proponent of sound money,
Sound money. Okay.
which is a monetary system based on assets
Uh-huh.
with intrinsic value.
I see.
He sees gold and silver
Mm-hmm.
as historically reliable stores of value.
Okay.
But get this,
Yeah.
he's actually quite skeptical of Bitcoin.
That's interesting.
Yeah, you would think with his,
Libertarian leaning.
libertarian leanings,
Mhm.
that he would be more open to cryptocurrencies.
What are his reservations?
He doesn't fully understand them.
Okay.
He admits as much in the interview.
All
He
right.
seems to prefer tangible assets.
Tangible assets, like gold.
Yeah, that have a long track record.
I see.
Like gold.
It's an interesting,
Yeah.
debate.
Yeah.
This allure of tangible assets
Yeah.
versus digital currencies,
For sure.
which will ultimately prevail.
Exactly.
A question for the ages.
It is. It is.
Oh.
Now, shifting gears a bit,
Okay.
another concern he raises is the lack of transparency
Mm-hmm.
surrounding the Federal Reserve.
The Fed.
He's been calling for audits of the Fed for years.
Audits, right?
And this sentiment is gaining traction,
Mm.
even among figures like Elon Musk.
Wow. Okay.
Why is auditing the Fed so important to him?
Yeah, what's the big deal with auditing the Fed?
Well, he argues that it operates with too much secrecy.
Okay.
Auditing the Fed could shed light on its decision-making process
Right.
and the true extent of its influence on the economy.
Okay. Yeah, transparency is important.
Yeah.
For sure.
Speaking of transparency,
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Paul also has some strong opinions about the government's gold holdings.
Gold. All right.
He even served on a commission back in the 70s, tasked with studying the monetary system.
Okay.
When he proposed auditing the nation's gold reserves,
Mm-hmm.
his suggestion was met with overwhelming resistance.
Resistance, like they didn't want to do it.
Yeah, they didn't want to audit the gold.
If everything's above board, why not, right?
Why
Like,
not?
why the reluctance?
Exactly.
Okay.
His skepticism runs deep.
Mhm.
He even poses this question.
Okay.
If they did have the gold, why wouldn't they want to clear the air?
Yeah, that's a good question.
It is.
It raises some serious questions about accountability,
For sure.
whether we can really trust, the official narratives
Yeah,
about our financial assets.
exactly. And it's all tied to this larger theme
Okay.
of the dollar,
Yeah.
potentially losing its status as the world's reserve currency.
Wow.
He argues that as confidence in the dollar wanes,
Mm-hmm.
other countries are already looking at alternative currencies
Alternative currencies. Wow.
to use in global trade.
A decline in the dollar's dominance would have major consequences.
It would.
I mean,
yeah.
potentially leading to inflation, decrease in purchasing power
For sure.
for everyday Americans.
Yeah, things could get a lot more expensive.
A lot more expensive. Wow.
Yeah, it's a sobering thought.
So how do we course correct?
Well, he offers a solution
Okay.
that's consistent with his libertarian philosophy.
All right.
Drastically cut government spending.
So we're not just talking about
No.
trimming the fat here.
Right.
We're talking major overhaul
Yeah.
of government expenditures.
He specifically targets military spending.
Military spending. Okay.
He calls the military-industrial complex
All right.
food stamps for the wealthy and the elite.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a striking analogy.
It is.
Yeah.
He argues that these interventions drain the economy
Mm-hmm.
and often do little to improve national security.
He contends that these interventions
Yeah.
ultimately benefit a select few,
Right.
the wealthy and the elite, while the average taxpayer foots the bill.
Exactly.
It's a perspective that challenges conventional thinking
It does.
about national security,
Yeah.
the role of the military.
It really makes you think about the costs,
It does.
both financially and in terms of human life.
Yeah. Are there alternative ways
Right.
to achieve peace and security
Right.
that don't rely so heavily on military force?
Exactly. You're bringing up some great points.
Well, it's clear that his views,
Yeah.
while controversial.
They are controversial.
Yeah,
Challenge us to rethink things,
for sure.
to consider different approaches
Yeah.
to some of the most pressing issues facing our society.
It's
Yeah.
he's not afraid to ask the tough questions.
He's not.
Yeah, and prompting us to really examine our assumptions about how the world works.
For sure.
I mean, whether you agree with him or not,
Right.
his perspective is definitely thought-provoking.
Okay, so we've explored Dr. Paul's diagnosis of the economic problems,
Yeah.
his proposed solutions,
Mm-hmm.
and his call to action.
Right.
But one crucial aspect of his message
Okay.
that we haven't fully unpacked yet
All right.
is this concern about the dollar
Yeah.
potentially losing its status as the world reserve currency.
Okay.
What does he see as the driving force behind this decline?
Mm-hmm.
And what could the consequences be for everyday people?
Yeah. What's going to happen if the dollar's no longer on top?
Well, what will happen?
And what will that mean for, for us?
Exactly. What does that mean for us?
Okay.
Well, he argues that the dollar's dominance
Mm-hmm.
is waning
Okay.
due to a loss of confidence
Loss of confidence, right?
in the U.S. economy.
Right.
He points to our mounting national debt,
Okay.
reckless spending,
Yeah.
and the Federal Reserve's manipulation
Right.
of the money supply
Yeah.
as key factors,
Yeah.
eroding trust.
So we're spending beyond our means
Yeah.
and printing money to cover the difference,
Right.
and the rest of the world is noticing.
They're starting to notice. And as other countries lose faith in the dollar,
Yeah.
they'll begin to seek alternative currencies
For trade
for international trade and investment.
and investment, right?
Yeah,
This could have some pretty big consequences
they could.
for the U.S. economy
Yeah.
and the average American.
What kind of consequence?
Well, how would this affect people's daily lives?
Right. Would this affect people's daily lives?
Okay, so
Yeah.
a decline in the dollar's status
Yeah.
could lead to higher prices
Oh.
for imported goods.
Oh.
So everything from electronics to clothing,
Yeah.
more expensive,
Okay.
could also reduce the purchasing power of savings.
Of our savings.
Yeah, making it harder to afford things
Like what?
like housing,
Okay.
healthcare,
Yeah.
education.
Right.
So it could have a real impact.
A real impact on
Yeah.
everyday people.
Exactly. It wouldn't just be some,
Yeah.
abstract economic concept.
Yeah.
It'd be something that affects their wallets,
Yeah.
their ability to make ends meet.
Exactly.
And this is why he stresses the importance of
Right.
understanding these issues
Yep.
and taking action to promote sound economic principles.
All right.
He believes that the future of our economy
Mm-hmm.
and our individual well-being
Yeah.
hinges on making informed choices
Right.
and advocating for policies that promote stability and prosperity.
So he's not just offering a critique,
No,
but a call to empower ourselves,
exactly.
to become active participants
Yeah,
in shaping a better financial future.
it's right.
He reminds us that we're not just
Yeah.
powerless bystanders.
We're not. We have the ability to learn,
Yeah.
question, make our voices heard.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, it's inspiring to hear him talk about that.
It is.
Empowering individuals
Yeah,
to make a difference.
yeah.
What are some practical steps he suggests?
To promote these ideas.
Well, he doesn't lay out a step-by-step plan,
Okay.
but he really stresses the importance of education, understanding the principles
Right.
of sound money,
Mhm.
limited government,
Yeah.
individual liberty.
So knowledge is the first line of defense.
It is, yeah.
So once people understand these principles,
Yeah.
what does he suggest they do with that knowledge?
He encourages people to find their own unique way to contribute.
Right.
He talks about starting organizations,
Mm-hmm.
getting involved in media,
Okay.
like podcasts,
Yeah.
writing,
Right.
even running for office.
So find your passion
Yeah,
and use it as a vehicle for change.
exactly.
That resonates with me.
It does. It does.
Sometimes these challenges
Yeah.
facing society seem so enormous
They do. They do.
that it's hard to imagine how
Yeah.
one person can make a difference.
Right.
But he's saying that
Yeah.
even small actions
Right.
can have a ripple effect.
He does. He uses a rather humorous analogy.
Okay.
He compares this approach to decluttering your finances.
Right.
The way pre-condo,
All right.
declutter your home,
I see.
getting rid of the excess,
Yeah.
and keeping only what sparks joy.
That's a great way to put it.
It is.
Okay, so we've discussed his diagnosis of the problem,
Yeah.
his proposed solutions,
Mhm.
and his call to action.
Right.
Let's shift gears a bit here
Okay.
and dig deeper into some of his key arguments.
Right.
So he's a strong advocate for a return to the gold standard.
He is.
This has been debated for decades.
It has.
What are some of the potential benefits and drawbacks
Okay.
of a gold standard?
All right.
And how realistic is it to implement that in today's digital world?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And honestly, it sparks a lot of debate.
Okay.
On the one hand,
Yeah.
gold has historically been a reliable store of value.
Yeah. It can't be printed out of thin air,
It can't know.
like our fiat currency.
Right.
This appeals to those who distrust
Yeah.
central banks,
Huh.
government control of the money supply.
Exactly.
So it offers a sense of security
Yes.
and protection against inflation.
It does.
Okay. I can see why that would be attractive,
Yeah.
especially in times of economic uncertainty.
Exactly.
But on the other hand,
Yeah.
gold standard does have its drawbacks.
It does.
One is that it could restrict economic growth.
Right.
The supply of gold is limited,
Yeah.
so it can be difficult to expand the money supply
Right.
to meet the needs of a growing economy.
That's right.
And in a fast-paced, globalized world,
Mm,
that inflexibility could pose significant challenges.
it could.
Wouldn't a gold standard give an enormous amount of power
Yeah.
to those who control the gold mines?
That's a good point.
Right.
That concentration of power could potentially be even more problematic.
Than the current system.
You're raising some excellent points.
Well, it's important to weigh the benefits and drawbacks
It is.
carefully.
Yes.
And whether a gold standard is even feasible in today's world is a question that'll continue to be debated
It will be debated for sure.
for years to come.
Absolutely.
Now, another point he emphasizes is the need to cut government spending,
Yes.
especially on military interventions.
He does. He does.
He refers to the military-industrial complex as food stamps for the wealthy and the elite.
Yeah.
It's a provocative statement.
It is. It is.
How realistic is it to expect such drastic cuts?
Right.
In a world where geopolitical tensions are often high.
That's a good question.
Yeah?
It's a bold proposition
Okay.
and one that would face significant opposition.
Right.
He argues that these interventions are counterproductive,
Okay.
creating more instability than peace and draining resources that could be used for other priorities.
He contends that they ultimately benefit a select few,
Yeah.
the wealthy and the elite,
Right.
while the average taxpayer foots the bill.
Exactly.
It's a perspective that challenges conventional thinking
It does.
about national security,
It does.
the role of the military.
It really makes you think
It does.
about the true costs of these interventions,
Right.
both financially
Yeah.
and in terms of human life.
Are there alternative ways
Right.
to achieve peace and security
Right.
that don't rely so heavily on military force?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
Perhaps diplomacy,
Okay.
economic development,
Yeah.
addressing the root causes of conflict could offer more sustainable solutions.
But these approaches often require patience, collaboration,
Yes.
and a willingness to move beyond short-term gains.
Yeah. You're bringing up some really important points.
Well, it's clear that his views
Yeah.
challenge us to rethink the status quo,
Yeah.
consider different approaches to
sure.
some of the most pressing issues facing our society.
Exactly.
He doesn't shy away from asking tough questions.
No, he doesn't.
Yeah.
And prompting us to critically examine our assumptions.
About how the world works,
Ex-
whether you agree with him or not. His perspective is undoubtedly thought-provoking.
It is.
Now, one crucial aspect of his message that we haven't fully unpacked
Okay.
is his concern about the dollar
Right.
losing its status
Yeah.
as the world reserve currency.
The world reserve currency. Okay.
What does he see as the driving force behind this decline?
Right.
And what could the consequences be?
Yeah. What could the consequences be for everyday people?
Yeah, what's going to happen if the dollar is no longer king of the hill?
What will happen?
Yeah.
Well, he argues that the dollar's dominance is waning.
Okay.
Due to a loss of confidence.
Loss of confidence.
In the U.S. economy.
In our economy.
Yeah.
Okay.
He points to our mounting national debt.
Right.
Reckless spending, and the Fed's manipulation of the money supply.
So we're spending beyond our means.
Yeah.
Printing money to cover the difference.
Yeah.
And the rest of the world is starting to notice.
They are.
Okay.
As other countries lose faith in the dollar, they'll begin to seek out alternative currencies.
For trade.
For international trade.
And investment.
Yeah.
Okay. This could have major consequences for the U.S. economy. And the average American?
What kind of consequences are we talking?
How would this affect people's daily lives?
Would this affect their daily life?
It would.
Yeah.
So decline in the dollar's status could lead to higher prices for imported goods, making everything from electronics to clothing more expensive.
I see.
It could also reduce the purchasing power of our savings,
making
it harder to afford things like housing, healthcare, education.
So the impact could be pretty significant for everyday people.
Yeah, this is why Dr. Paul stresses the importance of understanding these issues.
Yeah.
Taking action to promote sound economic principles.
Okay.
He believes that the future of our economy, our individual well-being, hinges on making informed choices, advocating for policies that promote stability and prosperity.
He's not just offering a critique.
No.
He's calling to empower ourselves.
Exactly.
With knowledge.
Yeah, to become active participants.
Become active participants.
In shaping a better financial future.
It's a very powerful message.
It is. Yeah. He reminds us that we're not powerless bystanders.
We're not.
We have the ability to learn, to question, to make our voices heard.
To make our voices heard, that's right. Yeah, it's empowering to know that we're not just passengers on this economic roller coaster.
It is.
We have the power to influence its direction.
Right.
As we wrap up our deep dive into Dr. Paul's perspective, what stands out to you as the most crucial takeaway?
You know, I think what's most striking is his belief in the power of ideas.
Okay.
You know, he spent decades advocating for these principles.
He did.
Often facing, strong opposition, even ridicule. But he persevered.
Yeah.
He believed that if an idea is sound and its time has come, nothing can stop it.
Powerful message.
Yeah, it's a powerful message for anyone who feels disillusioned.
Yeah.
Powerless.
Yeah, in the face of these challenges.
Yeah, seemingly insurmountable challenges.
It's a reminder that change often starts with a single voice.
It does.
Willing to speak truth to power.
Yeah.
And his story shows that even if you're going against the grain, persistence and a commitment to your principles can make a difference.
Absolutely. And he doesn't just talk about it.
Right.
He embodies it.
He does.
He encourages people to take action, to educate themselves, to engage in thoughtful discourse.
Right.
He reminds us that we all have a role to play in shaping a better future.
And he underscores the importance of questioning assumptions.
Yes.
And not just blindly accepting the status quo.
Yeah, whether it's challenging conventional wisdom about the role of government, the nature of money, the effectiveness of military intervention.
Right.
He encourages us to think critically.
He does.
To consider alternative perspectives.
Yeah.
His willingness to challenge those deeply ingrained beliefs.
Yes.
Propose these radical solutions. Can be unsettling for some.
It can.
But it forces us to confront uncomfortable truths.
Yeah.
And consider possibilities that we might have otherwise dismissed.
So what does this all mean for our listeners
as
they navigate their own financial decisions and engage with the world around them?
Dr. Paul's insights offer a valuable framework for understanding these forces at play in our economy.
Right.
He equips us with the knowledge to ask the right questions, to challenge these conventional narratives and make informed choices that align with our values.
That's right.
He encourages us to be active participants, not passive bystanders.
Right.
Whether it's advocating for sound money, demanding transparency from our institutions, or just educating ourselves about the principles of a free market. He reminds us that we all have a sphere of influence.
Let's do. We do.
His message resonates with a sense of urgency.
It does.
But also a profound sense of hope.
Yes. Yes.
He believes that positive change is possible if enough people embrace these principles and work together to create a more just and prosperous society.
So as we conclude our deep dive into Dr. Paul's perspective, what final thought would you leave our listeners with?
I think the main takeaway here is that even amidst all this complexity and uncertainty, we have the power to shape our own destiny.
We do.
It's a call to action.
It is.
To reclaim our agency and embrace the responsibility that comes with it.
Well said.
So as we wrap up, I encourage our listeners to reflect on these insights. Consider how they might apply them to their own lives.
That's right.
What resonates with you? What questions does it raise? What actions might you be inspired to take?
Great questions.
Keep exploring, keep questioning. And keep the conversation going.
Keep the conversation going.
Who knows? You might be the one to spark the next big idea.
That's right.
Whose time has come.
That's right.
Until next time.
Happy diving.
Happy diving.